Normal people embrace what I call an E=O lifestyle. E stands for events in their lives, and the events equal the outcome. And so they say, hey, guess what? Kent is born and he can't speak and he can't read and he has trouble with language. Therefore, the outcome is Kent really isn't going to ever make anything of his life because he's kind of slow. He's never going to make anything of his life. E=O is the excuse way and is the way that the vast majority of people in this world live life. E+R. R, your response, equals the outcome. And the only thing you're 100% in control of is your response to life. In fact, I have this bracelet that I wear. E+R=O, and I wear it everywhere to remind myself. It's not the stuff that happens to you, it's how you respond to them that makes the difference in your life. That's the successful people, and not everybody lives that way. One of my daughters, Kelsey, one of my twins, started losing weight. And it was May, and within 3 weeks, she lost almost 25 pounds. Freaked us out. She's only 11 at the time. So she starts losing weight, and the first 2 weeks, she only loses maybe 5 to 7 pounds, but we begin to notice it. By the third week, about 17, 18 pounds like that just disappeared off her. Carried her down the stairs, afraid, beginning to be afraid for my daughter's life. Take her to the emergency room, and within 5 minutes, she's diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I remember going to the other room crying for 2 reasons. Number one, thank God it's not an eating disorder. Number two, I started realizing this is a condition she's going to have the rest of her life. If you don't know what type 1 diabetes is, type 1 diabetes isn't the diabetes you hear of on TV, and 95% of the people have what's called type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is called juvenile diabetes, and it's basically when your pancreas just shuts down and it quits working. Every time she's about ready to put a piece of food in her mouth, she has to test her blood. Then once she sees her blood, depending on how high the sugar is, she has to do a mathematical calculation and then give herself a shot of insulin to make sure she's going to be able to digest the food and break down the food. She's got to do that every time she puts a piece of food in her mouth. 8-10 times a day for the rest of her life. Type 1 diabetes is a bad disease. There's diseases that I would consider are worse. There's diseases that aren't as bad, but my daughter's got type 1 diabetes. And at first, it took a long time for us to adjust to it. And being the dad that I am, and my wife's the same way, we'll look at my daughter every once in a while. For me, it's about once a month. I'll look her in the eye, and I'll sit down with her, and I'll say, Kelsey. And by now, she knows it's coming. She's like, all right, here we go. And I look her in the eye and say, Kelsey, I love you so much. And if I could put my hand inside of you and pull out your type 1 diabetes and give it to me, I would do that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I'd take it and I'd put it in me in a heartbeat. I wish I could take that instead of you have it. And she'd look at me, 11, 12 years old. Thanks, Dad. Thanks. And she knew I meant it. And I kept saying that. Well, a number of months ago, started to say it, and it was like, Dad, don't say that. I'm like, well, Kels, I got to say it. No, Dad, don't say it. But Kels, if I could take the don't say it, Dad. I'm like, what's up, girlfriend? And Kelsey has a green wristband like this. And she basically said, E+R=O. And what she was saying to me is, Dad, I'm okay with diabetes. In fact, Dad, I'm a better person with diabetes. See, my daughter, incredibly smart, gifted, Kelsey's driven as all get out, and yet at the same time, she's one of the kindest persons I've ever met. She's so kind and so sweet to people. And it's like since she's gotten diabetes and she's adjusted to it, all those things have gotten better in her life. She's more driven to accomplish things. I can't even believe it, but she's even nicer and kinder and gentler to people than she was before. And she says, diabetes has made me a better person. And you know what? She's wrong. Her R has made her a better person. Not the E, not the event, the diabetes, but her response. Because I know a lot of kids with diabetes who they've responded, they've become bitter, not better. And I want to tell you something. All of us in here are going to face adversity. You cannot control the events in your life. You cannot control what your friends say about you. You can't control half the stuff that's going to happen in your life. All you can control is your response to them. And I'm telling you, the people who are real success in life, they take their greatest adversities and they turn them into their greatest advantage. That's why they're heroes. They take their greatest adversities and turn them into advantages. They don't become bitter, they become better. If you want to experience real success and capture success, the first thing you've got to do is make sure you start today living E+R=O. I mean, remind yourself of it every day. It's not the events, it's how I respond to what happens in my life that determines my outcome. You do that, you're on your way to capturing success.